Hello and welcome to Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
So today we're talking about Kesha, which is an artist we haven't talked about on this channel before.
Yeah, I feel like we say this a lot, but not someone we've really listened to much either.
No, I mean, I heard the big hits back in the early 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of music like that going on. Big, we're going to party tonight, buzzsaw synth kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was already parodying that type of song when she was in the midst of it. People took it seriously at the time, but, you know.
Yeah, it seemed like it. It seemed like it was self-aware. It was kind of almost a heightened version of herself.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. But then, you know, Kesha wasn't really a name I heard for a while. Besides, unfortunately, in the pop headlines.
Yeah, and we don't need to talk about that. There's plenty of info about that. But, you know, I heard, some of the stuff off the comeback. Rainbow was kind of supposed to be the comeback album, I think.
Yeah, I remember seeing the cover, kind of a psychedelic looking thing, and thinking, oh, that looks cool. And I worked at the record store at the time, but for whatever reason, we didn't crack it open and listen to it. So I haven't heard a full-length Kesha album. Mm-mm. But these two songs that came out, Fine Line, Eat the Acid, they're from the forthcoming album Gag Order. And I got to tell you, it's instantly my most anticipated album.
I know. I mean, this year is getting pretty front-loaded. I was very unsure if anything would topple This Is Why by Paramore for me. Also, I mean, I know it's an EP, but Rebecca Black...
Yeah, that was great.
That EP is phenomenal. I cannot really remember the time that I so instantly was completely all in and like blown away by two songs.
Yeah.
I was just like sitting, listening to it going like, this is just blowing my mind.
I felt very similar. I was instantly brought back to the excitement I felt with I Can't Have Love, I Want Power by Halsey.
Kind of the last time, though. I think it took me a little bit longer. I loved that one right away, but it took me a few listens to really be like, oh man, you know, I was kind of taking it in. And this one just, for some reason, it just hits you right off the bat. I think partly because it's so minimal.
Yeah, the minimalness here is really what makes it. And it drives home what she's saying, the impression that it's giving, like everything about it is so much more effective when you strip away all that's not needed. And that leads us to Rick Rubin.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, for years we've been saying, you know, we're waiting for the minimal dark pop movement to take off.
I mean, I would say it took off. It just dissipated so quickly.
Right, yeah.
It was like, Lord put out Pure Heroin. I was like, whoa, minimal dark pop. I'm so into it. Kind of peaked at Billie Eilish's first album and sort of quickly dissipated from there. Now, this is like a new, darker, more intense take on it that I'm incredibly excited for.
Yeah.
And bringing Rick Rubin on was I want to know everything behind that decision because what a great decision.
Yeah, you know a lot about him as a producer, and so you were pretty excited as soon as you heard he was involved.
Yeah, I think he can break an artist down in a good way, kind of strip the project down to its most needed assets only. And what you're left with is either good or bad, and that's kind of up to the artist, it feels like. Right.
It really shows you, like, can this person hack it? Like, if they're really distilled down to their essence, what's going to come out?
Yeah, I'll throw some examples out there. When he recently produced for Smashing Pumpkins, a couple records ago, Shiny and Oh So Bright, you know, he did a similar thing, like kind of distilled it down to what is this band? And then the poor songwriting shows.
Right.
But in something like this, it shines.
Yeah, I mean, he did New Abnormal for the Strokes.
Another great example.
Yeah.
And you can really feel in that record, like, this is the band. You can hear them even like talking in the room and stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's more real. And he's done countless albums. I know very few just off the top of my head, but that's the one I do know.
Yeah. I mean, most recently did that pair of Chili Peppers albums.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was the same sort of thing. It's like you get you shed all these layers off of an artist and you just get what's at the core. And so for Kesha, what's at the core is a lot of intense emotions and anger going on, and it comes out swinging.
And here the lyrics are, I don't think lyrics are of ultimate importance necessarily because the production and the performance are really paramount. But it's really simple lyrics and not a lot hiding where you can just go, it doesn't matter that line sucks because it's fun to dance to or whatever.
Right.
And she's not always going for the kill with every line. Some of them are even like lines I've heard many times before, which is a huge pet peeve of mine. But the way she's using the development of the emotions in the song, I'm all in on it. And there's a few lines that were just like blew me away. They're just so impactful.
Yeah, they both feel like the slow build to an intense scream. I mean, I know there's not a literal scream in there.
There's a little in the background.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool in the background of which one was that?
I don't even remember.
I forget which one that had the screaming in the background.
3 times.
I did too. They kind of go together so well. You can't just listen to one.
Yeah.
And Eat the Acid in particular builds to this like pulsating, distorting bass at the end that builds off to my personal favorite ending of a song, a cutoff.
Yeah, and both of them have a cutoff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they both have a little cutoff where it's like I'm not gonna give you a catharsis because like I think she's kind of saying like I never got my catharsis, like we're still in this unsure, uncomfortable, like dark place together.
I like that. Yeah, that it definitely feels that way. Those cutoff endings, or as I refer to them, the Trent Reznor specialty. You hear it all over his music, and in turn, you hear it in If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. I always love it because it's so much more effective. It's sort of the impact of the end of the song hits you a second later. There's like this delayed reaction where you're like, what? Oh, whoa, that was intense.
Yeah.
And now you're on to the next. I love that. Now, the tasteful production just is coming in droves. Like,
oh my gosh,
the synth part after the first chorus in Fine Line is where I really started to be all in on this project.
Yeah.
It was just so pretty and unique of a synth patch. I don't know what they're using on there, if it's like a virtual instrument or knowing that it's a Rick Rubin project, maybe it's an old synth or something, but it was just gorgeous. And then you get these little production details like roar like a lion in the lyric, and then you hear not a roar, but something that's,
something akin to the sound. Yeah.
It's like a reverse distorted vocal.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. And when you have the song so stripped down like that, something like that is like obviously really effective.
Yeah. Usually it'd be under a bunch of layers of other production, which can also be super cool. But, they probably had, maybe at one point they had like a ton of different stuff and they're like, okay, what can we take away and what's left?
That is a very Rick Rubin thing to do.
Yeah.
I'll just say this real quick. This isn't an artist we're gonna talk about at all, but the record Yeezus, it was done that way, and I think that's why that record sounds so cool and minimal is because yes, at one point it had a million layers of stuff, and they just started taking out pieces. What's not needed? This isn't needed. And so you got that like industrial bass filled thing. Well,
and the things you're left with is also the things you might not have expected in the beginning. It's like, okay, here's a guitar part. Here's like a, this and that. And then we'll put this little weird thing in the background. And it's like, well, what if it was like just the weird thing and like a bass synth?
Yeah. I love that approach. It's like throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, and then chopping stuff away after.
Yeah.
You know, those old sculptors, they started with the whole piece of marble, and then you just chip away until it's done. It's just right.
You find the sculpture within.
Yeah, it's already there.
Yeah.
You just got to find it.
We don't want to go too long on this, but, you know, I mean, I'm just like really, this is like what I hoped it would be when you said, this is a Kesha album produced by Rick Rubin, and I saw the cover art. I was like, I feel like I know what this is going to be, and it was going to have to live up to that expectation. And then it like exceeded the expectation by like so much.
We can build these things up so much in our heads, you know, as listeners, as fans waiting for new music. You hear, oh, this person's involved. You start to get the imagery of the project, and yeah, you can really build it up and kind of have these preconceived expectations that are so hard to live up to.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. It over-delivered. I want to point out one thing in Eat the Acid that I loved. Now, this is a hypothesis.
Okay.
I don't know if this is true or not, but there are segments in the song that sound like the scratch vocal to me.
Oh.
Scratch vocal means the vocal you throw in to get the idea down before you like do the real take. Sometimes that's done singing into your iPhone or whatever. There's a segment near the end where it sounds like just that. It sounds like a voice memo. And I think, again, this is just a hypothesis, but I really think that's what someone like Rick Rubin brings to the table, where if the emotion's in that take that's sitting on your phone, yeah, it may not be done through the best microphone or with the best compressor or whatever, but you better drop it in because that's the take.
Yeah.
And that's so much more important. I can hear those points where like, it's like there's a quality switch in the vocal.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's cool. It totally works.
I like that contrast too. I mean, there's like a really cool vocal distortion on Eat the Acid too that's like not overbearing.
Yeah.
It's almost like sometimes it almost feels like it goes away.
Yeah, it's so interesting, these tracks. I think I also listened to 3 times. You listened to 3 times. I feel like I don't want to burn them out. I think I'm going to leave them alone for a while.
It's hard.
And just wait for the record, which I believe is coming soon.
Okay, come on, Kesha. We want it.
Now, I know there was some listening party events. Ooh. And from what I hear from people on like the Pophead subreddit that went to these events, these songs are indicative of what the record's going to be.
Cool. But
they also said a couple of bangers thrown in there.
Ooh, I love a banger, a dark banger. Is it going to be a dark banger?
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is going head to head for the Halsey album for me, of like this kind of thing.
Right.
I'm so excited. You know, that comes with other feelings as well. Like, sucks that she had to go through all of this stuff to make the thing, but I am excited about the thing. And
I'm excited for her that she's being able to sort of be in charge and do something unexpected.
It feels like this is going to be the real comeback. Yeah. Because she was still delivering albums, you know, she was still delivering a contract, like a set number of albums.
Yeah, which brings me to something I was going to say, actually, is that this is so non-commercial. Like, these songs are the opposite of commercial, and that is what really is working for her here. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the big comeback happening.
Yeah.
This is going to be great. Very excited. Now, for 2 people here who haven't really heard Kesha, is there anything we're missing out on? Should we dive into Rainbow and sort of dig deep into that while we wait for this record to come out? And are you guys excited as us? Let us know. This is Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.